Tanmay, can you make me presenter, please?
Is that the right one, or see one only?
I'm coming online now as well. Just give me a minute.
Right.
Yeah, hello everyone. Hello students, good evening. Thank you for joining in for the today's webinar. Today we'll be discussing the prospects of architecture related courses in all the countries like USA, Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. So we are waiting for few more students to join. We'll be starting in next couple of minutes.
Akshay sir, we can begin with the webinar.
Yeah. So hello everyone, good evening. Thank you for joining in. So today we'll be discussing the prospects of architecture and related courses in the lot of countries. We'll be discussing multiple countries today. So just to give you a brief about Imperial Overseas, we have been into training and counseling for more than 8 years now. We help student right from his training to his visa, forex and everything. And let's begin. So the very first, like what options to choose and what countries are available, how to go about it. So yeah, the very first country is United States. Yes, Hiren sir, how is the architecture field in the US?
Thank you, Akshay sir. Good evening, everyone who are present over here. Just for this, Akshay sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar session. This is the second of our webinar session in the domain-specific webinars. Last couple of days back, we had one for physiotherapy students. Today, we have for architects. In the future, we'll have some more like for pharmacy, for medical professionals, some a different lot for engineers. But today, we have for architect. Architecture students, we find you guys close to our hearts as well. Unlike some other people around who, I mean, I are maybe not aware regarding architecture background. I think we year on year send a good chunk of students for architecture related courses across the globe. So we are aware what we are talking about. Now, what happens is what you guys study here is a 5-year BR course. Okay, one thing very important for all of you is that this 5-year BR course is something which is not available in so many countries. Like for example, I'm talking about USA right now over here. Okay, so USA, the BR, the Bachelor of Architecture course is available barely for 3 or 4 years, not more than that. So the 5-year course that you guys have pursued or are pursuing over here, that becomes very critical for you, because what happens is when you go to the US, for example, for your Master of Architecture degree, the degree varies anywhere from 1 year to 3 years. Okay, again, 1 year, 2 year, or it can be a 3 years degree as well. Now there is a massive confusion among many people, especially in India, many architecture students, especially in India, wherein they feel that they will have to by default go for a 3-year degree. They are like, sir, हमने यहाँ पे already 5 साल किया है, वहां पे जाके और 3 साल करेंगे, हमारा total 8 साल बर्बाद हो जाएगा, something of that sort. I mean, not exactly बर्बाद, but it's like कि I mean, it's just a lot, okay? Because ideally speaking, you guys get done with your architecture degree in India when you are roughly around 23 years old. If we have to add another 3 years, then it's 26, maybe a year experience in India before you fly, you are 26 or 27. And trust me when I say this, with many people, the issue comes in is, sir, वो शादी की उम्र हो जाती है, घर वाले शादी के पीछे भागते हैं, तो करियर कब बनाएंगे? Okay. Some of you might feel of it as a joke, but trust me, this is a real life problem. I mean, the panelists sitting over here, they are smiling because they know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the guys, the thing here is that you have to understand one thing, that your BR in India is a 5-year degree. Okay, owing to that, when you go to the US to pursue a Master of Architecture, trust me, you have to go either for a 1-year or a 2-year degree. You don't need to go for a 3-year degree. That is something which is very critical for all of you. Since your degree is a 5-year degree, you don't have to go for a 3-year degree. You go for a 1-year or a 2-year degree, and that should be more than enough for you to complete the required credits for your graduation. Now, most of the architecture schools that we are talking about, you can see here, I mean, it's regarding a different board, but the point is most of the architecture schools that we are talking about, ideally we should be aiming for or going for schools which are accredited by the NAB, the National Architecture Board in America. We should go ahead with courses from there because those are recognized, and for you to get a job in the future becomes very easy. Okay, it doesn't become difficult at all. And architecture, the field is growing day in, day out in the US right now. Many of our students who have gone there, they have gotten some good jobs out there. They are still working. Trust me when I say this, our students who have been there, even the COVID-19, they have not been so much impacted by this. 1 or 2 years they might be impacted. I'm not arguing on that part, but most of them have not been impacted by this. They have gotten some good jobs. Their jobs are continuing. They are allowed to work from home as well. Nothing to worry about for them. I mean they are doing absolutely fine. The statistics are right in front of you. They are planning for almost a 10% employment growth in this decade for the next 10 years of architecture field, which is quite a lot. Because trust me again when I say this, not many local American students want to pursue the architecture degree. Very, very few. I mean, quite a good number of them do start off in the first year of bachelor's I'm talking about, but towards the end, half of them drop out of it. Okay, so thus making for us international students easier to get opportunities out there. Okay, so life becomes simpler for us, honestly speaking. And the salary range is quite decent. On an average, an architect in the US after a master's degree can draw something around $60,000 per annum. Okay, and architecture students, their H-1B, their work visas are being filed in the US as well. Okay, now when we come to it, there is something known as a STEM versus non-STEM. In the future slides, there are slides, as if you can see. Akshay sir, if you can show the first slide, just describing the domains that we are covering right now. Yeah, if you can, Akshay sir will just put it on the first slide. If you can see, we have different domains, which, yeah, here we are going to talk about different domains. In that, the course part where we are coming about, the job stay back, and the course part that we are talking about, over there we'll discuss the STEM, non-STEM. But this is overall point of view of US that I'm talking about right now. Jobs are available, the courses are brilliant, and they see at least a 10% hike in the next decade, which is a good hike. Okay, we are not like engineering students who go in a plenty in the US to study. You guys are architecture students, and for you guys, the thing is that very few number of students go. So even this 10% is actually a good thing because the compared ratio is quite low. And the statistics are very promising. You get good jobs. You get, many architecture firms are hiring individuals. So that is not a problem. Okay. So Akshay sir, you can continue. In the meanwhile, I'll just run a small poll over here.
Okay.
Guys, you can vote for this. I mean, all of you obviously can vote for this. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we can see good number of you are from USA. For USA, a few are for Canada. I'm sure now when Sonali ma'am will talk about Canada, the statistics might change towards Canada. A good number for European nations and for Australia and New Zealand as well. So we'll cover this in the further slides. Akshay sir, you can take over.
Yeah, thank you, Hiren sir, for this information. Now, I would like to invite Sonali ma'am to give us a brief about architecture in Canada.
Sure. Thank you, Akshay sir. So, regarding architecture in Canada, now, since it is a regulated profession, there are a set number of universities which have been accredited or approved by the CACB, that is the Canadian Architectural Certification Board. Now, universities or programs that fall under this board are only allowed to hold, are only eligible for, you can say, in further the licensing part that we're going to discuss in the next couple of slides. But overall, if we talk about architecture in Canada, I think, since there are many upcoming city areas in Canada, which do require, planning and, do require architects over there to work. So I think specifically provinces like Saskatchewan, maybe Nunavut, do have requirements for architect, and there is a good demand for architects overall. And so there are a good number of students moving to Canada who want to pursue masters in architecture and post that look for licensing and settle down there. So as I said, there are a set number of universities which fall under the CACB. There are in total about only 11 universities in Canada which have these certifications, wherein if you graduate from these 11 universities with a master's in architecture, only then you are allowed or eligible for the further licensing part if you want to go ahead with that. Of course, apart from masters in architecture, there are several programs that people from architecture background can look for. But if in case you're looking for specifically a license, to hold a license and to work in Canada as a registered architect, I think this will be your goal. These 11 universities that we're talking about will be your goal to, you will have to get into these universities in order to work as a registered architect in Canada. Further, I think talking about average salaries, architects draw somewhere over the average of Canadian standards. So somewhere around $84,000 approximately is what architects who graduate with a master's degree draw, and some some people with work experience, architects with work experience can draw up to 140,000 Canadian dollars as well. And now that's quite a huge amount of money involved over there, and so is the effort that goes into completing your degree. These degrees that we're talking about from these 11 institutes, these 11 prestigious institutes, including UBC, there's Toronto, there's Calgary, there's University of Montreal. So all these universities have these programs, these accredited programs that we're talking about, and the program range, the number of years can range anywhere between 2 to 3 years. There are universities like UBC and Toronto which offer approximately a 3-year program. So that's an overall idea about how architecture works in Canada. So if you are up for, Canada also is known for more towards PR. So if people who are looking for settling down in a particular country or go for an easy PR route, I think Canada is a country that you can look for. Of course, the requirements in terms of when it comes to academics percentage, we are going to discuss all that, is slightly higher in Canada as compared to other countries. So I'll leave it up to that. That is an overview about how architecture works in Canada. I think we can move to the next country first.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sonali ma'am. Let's understand about Australia, New Zealand. Like, how is
Yeah.
the scope
Akshay sir,
of architecture in Australia and New Zealand?
Akshay sir, I'll just run a small poll before that. HK ma'am, can
Okay,
we run a
sure.
poll?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, so we can see maximum of you are planning in the next couple of years. That is either next year, August, September 2021, or somewhere August, September 2022, which is a very promising sign for all of you. All the best with your future, everyone. And yeah, obviously we are here to help you out. But yeah, HK ma'am, you can continue. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have Kiran ma'am,
Uh,
so she'll take us through the Australia New Zealand part. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Akshay. Good evening, everyone. To all the students who've joined us, thank you so much. So as Hiren sir mentioned, we are just discussing an overview about all countries. So at Imperial, we do help students apply to different countries. So I'm going to be talking about Australia and New Zealand. So Australia, as mentioned on the slides, Australia and New Zealand both recognize the 5-year architecture degrees, the Bachelor of Architecture degrees of India. Entry requirement wise, a 5-year bachelor's degree is absolutely recognized by all the Australian and New Zealand universities and institutes. Um, Particularly speaking about Australia, has a huge scope for architecture and anything to do with building and design. One second, I'm just trying to, yeah. Right. So, more than half the universities in Australia do have a Masters of Architecture course. So, more than 25 universities, as I could find out, they have a Masters of Architecture degree. And of course, there are many other degrees that architecture students can opt for, like Masters of Design, Urban Planning, Construction Management, Project Management. We'll come to that in a much greater detail, I'm sure, in a few slides from now. There's a huge, basically anything to do with architecture and design has a huge, demand in the job market as per the Australian government website. If you just check the website of the Australian government, and in fact even New Zealand, they have huge requirements for people from this background. So be it for construction management, project management, architecture, there's huge demand. But of course, only if you study a Masters of Architecture can you apply for the architecture license in Australia. So all the MArch universities that we recommend students for would be accredited by the Architects Accreditation Council of Australia. And we'll come to the accreditation process in a bit. But it's a fact that Australia is a very good country. Australia and New Zealand both are extremely good countries for students who are looking for a long-term career in a country and also looking for PR. And there's a huge there's a huge demand in the job market for people from your background. And as it is mentioned here, it is architecture is the third highest among the 28 sectors that are showing the maximum demand. And the average salary also of a student who graduates from a Masters of Architecture in Australia is much higher than most other sectors in the industry. And the job wages are also increasing every year. So that's a positive sign. So I would say that architecture in both Australia and New Zealand is a very, very good career to look at and pursue. And we'll also be covering more details as we go along. So over to you, Akshay.
Yeah, thank you, Kiran ma'am. So now let's discuss about architecture in UK. So what happens is, like, UK recently has started giving 2 years of post-study work visa to students, and that's what is, students are going to UK nowadays. And architecture, when it comes to architecture colleges, they have to be accredited by RIBA, the Royal Institute of British Architects. So we'll come to the RIBA process later. So basically there are three parts of the processes. One part is the student should have completed the BArch, which you have already done. Second part is about MArch, and then comes about the license exam, which we'll discuss later. And as per the statistics of UK, somewhere around 90% of the graduates are either employed or they go for further studies. So 90% of the architecture students are either employed or they go for future studies. This number is very promising. So you can see that how good is the scope of architecture when it comes to UK. And definitely, like from this September 2020 intake, the student, if he goes to UK, there will be a 1 or 2 year of course and then 2 years of stay back. So yes, UK is definitely a good option when it comes to architecture. And talking about Europe, so when it comes to architecture in Europe, so if we talk about European countries like say Spain, France, Germany, all this have a very architecture rich history. So when it comes to these architecture related courses, whether it could be heritage or MArch or architectural design, urban design, all those courses. So yes, we have a lot of universities and a lot of scope available in European countries. Just that you will have to keep one point in mind, and that point is that any country you go in Europe, every country is associated with a language, and you will have to learn that language for working there. अपना जो पढ़ाई है वो तो इंग्लिश में हो जाएगा. The course will be of 2 years or 1 year course, वो तो इंग्लिश में हो जाएगा. एंड स्टे बैक कंट्री टू कंट्री डिपेंड करता है, हम उस पे आते हैं. और जैसे ये स्लाइड में लिखा है कि बर्लिन इज वन ऑफ द हाईएस्ट paying cities, okay, for architects. So there is a lot of scope when it comes to architecture in Europe. Okay, so now the very important part, like we also know a lot of students जो भी हमारे पास आते हैं, सबसे पहला सवाल ये होता है job and stay back का क्या. Okay, so we'll understand what are the job opportunities and how long can we work or stay there. Yes, Hiren sir, how about the stay back in the United States?
Sorry, yeah, sorry, Akshay sir. Yeah, so the stay back thing, like I earlier discussed. Okay, so we have to understand one thing, that US is divided in two parts. One is the STEM course and one is a non-STEM course. STEM, if you guys understand, it's science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Okay, I repeat, it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. If your course comes under STEM, after you're done with your education, you get a 3-year stay back option. If your course comes under non-STEM, after your education, you get a 1-year stay back option. Unlike other countries, as my colleagues here discussed, you need to have a 2-year course or a 3-year course for a 2-year or 3-year stay back option. Like every country has a different funda. USA doesn't have the timeline defined for the number of years you spend on your course. It is straight STEM or non-STEM. Okay, so till a few years back, architecture per se came under the non-STEM category across the US, across several universities in the US. Over the past few years, half a decade, in the last 5 years, many universities have started changing their stance. They have started introducing subjects in the course in such a manner that it becomes a STEM course. Okay, like they've gotten like maybe 1 or 2 engineering subjects or 1 or 2 technological subjects or 1 or 2 math related subjects, or as a matter of fact 1 or 2 design related subjects which can come under the STEM category. Okay, so many schools in the US have actually started defining this as a STEM course, because they know that international students coming there, they would need a stay back. They would need a stay back of at least 3 years, because what happens is, in the US, when your company files for your work visa, they file once every year. Generally, it happens on the 1st of April. Okay, so if you get a 3-year stay back period, your work visa can be filed thrice. Like it's a lottery, as you all are aware of. So if the first attempt is not done, then you get the second attempt. If the second attempt is not done, you get a third attempt. If the third attempt is not done, then you might have to leave the country. That's a different issue altogether. We'll get there when the time will come. But the point is, everyone needs a 3-year stay back. So many schools have started making this as a STEM course. Nextly, this is something, a feedback that again we are getting from many of our students for architecture who have gone there. Even if the starting salary, average starting salary for any individual in the US for architecture is comparatively low, but the promotions and the salary hike happens like very quick over there. Okay. So like, let's say, for example, if any individual starts their job at around say $55,000-$60,000 per annum in the first year, maybe towards the end of third year, their salary goes up to 80 or $90,000 per annum. So this is the jump that the individuals see out there. So because of this, the stay back helps. And trust me, many of the universities under the domain of architecture have actually made their course a STEM course, which is helpful a lot. Some of you, I can see some of the attendees out there. I know them personally as well. And you have applied for courses which are STEM courses. I mean, that's like the best thing to do. It is always beneficial or advantageous to apply for a STEM course because we know we are going to get a 3-year stay back option. So that's the thing. So we need that stay back option, and we will get it through the STEM courses. Most of the schools, now you talk about RISD, you talk about Topman, which is Ann Arbor, you talk about UIUC, you talk about UWash Seattle, you talk about Austin. Most of the schools, even NJIT, as a matter of fact, all of these schools, their architecture schools have the courses available under STEM. Even Savannah SCAD has a course under STEM. So for this thing, you guys don't have to worry about anything. And obviously, you can see the salary trends. It has been increasing. Okay, many architects, yes, they are drawing 90, 95, or even $100,000 per annum. This is what average salary trends we are talking about. But obviously, this is with experience, a few years of experience, and you can get into these salary ranges. So these are the beneficial things for you right now under this domain in the US.
Okay. Thank you, Hiren sir. Let's move on to Canada and understand what is the scope and what is the stay back option available for the students in Canada. Yes, Sonali ma'am.
So, yeah, so first talking about the stay back, I think we have already discussed about the salary part, but I'll just touch upon it again. The stay back option, which is popularly known as PGWP in Canada, that is postgraduate work permit in Canada, is it depends on the duration of the program that you do in Canada, as compared to what we heard about US about the non-STEM, STEM and the non-STEM categorization. So the duration of the course should be anywhere between 16 months, 2 years and above, for you to get the 3 years of PGWP, which is the highest that you get in Canada in terms of the stay back option. Now, what we've observed over the years, any program which even crosses the 16 months mark, that is probably a 12-month of program and 4 months of internship, does also qualify for up to 3 years of stay back, that is PGWP. Any course which is 1 year or probably lesser than 1 year gets around 1 year of stay back. So since most of the courses that we're talking about from the accredited institutes that we spoke about, the 11 universities, either are 2-year programs or 3-year programs in architecture, the master's in architecture degree. So, students do get 3 years of PGWP. Now, talking about I think some students also have doubts regarding when they qualify for the PR and everything. So yes, Canada is more known for to attract students related to permanent residency. That is one of the reasons why students choose Canada. So PR can be applied during your PGWP as well, during the stay back option that you are going to utilize in Canada, and it takes around 1 year approximately to get your PR approved, and depends on the criteria and everything, depend on the kind of province that you're applying to. So it is province specific, so you should be referring to the particular province that you're interested in. Now coming to the salaries, the usual salary range is between 80 to 100,000 Canadian dollars. This is the usual salary that students who are graduating from an architecture background do draw this amount of salary. However, a licensed professional and a registered professional in a particular province does draw up to $140,000. Of course, it takes a couple of years to reach that potential, but yeah, definitely that is something that is paid by the Canadian companies. You can also work on your own after you are registered as an architect in Canada, so which means a higher salary. The lower range, which is mentioned over there, that is approximately $39,000. That is for students who have graduated maybe with a bachelor's program, and students who have just started off with their internships after they have graduated from a master's program. So that is the salary expectation that you can have if you are just starting in the industry without any work experience, or during your internship. Once you start working as a professional, I think range would be somewhere around 80 to 100,000. So that's from my.
Okay, thank you, Sonali ma'am. Let's now understand from Kiran ma'am the prospects in Australia and New Zealand.
Yes. Thank you, Akshay. So, in Australia and New Zealand, as it is mentioned here, an average salary is of that an architect draws is much higher than most other professions. So, if you compare it to, say, a graduate of engineering, a graduate of business, an architecture graduate will draw a much higher salary, which will be somewhere close to $80,000. And it is one sector which sees constant growth and constant demand. Now, of course, when it comes to the pattern of education in Australia, your Masters of Architecture has to be a 2-year degree. It cannot be less. Even if there are universities that offer a course of 1 year, 1.5 year, that would not basically help you get a post-study work visa. So if you are interested in getting a post-study work visa, you have to pursue a Masters of Architecture in Australia that is of a minimum of 2-year duration, right? And the course, as I mentioned, has to be accredited by the Architects Accreditation Council of Australia. They have to make sure that the course is accredited by them. And so, as I mentioned, after a 2-year course, a student gets a minimum of 2 years of stay back if he's doing his course from the 3 big cities, which is Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. So Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane have some of the best universities in the world, like University of Melbourne, RMIT, Monash University, University of Sydney, University of Queensland. These are some of the top universities in the world which have a MR program. However, if you're seeking a PR, because many students who choose Australia choose it because of the PR route. So if PR is really on your mind, then we sincerely suggest you to look at options which are beyond these 3 cities. You can look at cities which are considered as regional, which basically could be any city other than these 3. So it could be Adelaide, it could be Perth, it could be Townsville, it could be Canberra, which is the capital of the country, but they are still considered regional. So if your university is in a regional city, which is, as I mentioned, other than Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, you get more years of stay back. You get more years of post-study work visa. So if you are studying in Adelaide, you get minimum 3 years of stay back. If you're studying in, say, Canberra, you get minimum 4 years of stay back. So depending on the city, the Australian government has categorized it as regional. And so if you are looking for PR and if you're looking for that route of settling in Australia, then and definitely I would suggest you regional cities. We are going to be talking about the licensing process in a short while, so I won't cover it right now. But in New Zealand, compared to Australia, in New Zealand, there are 2 types of courses offered. One is a graduate diploma and one is master's degree. If you're doing a graduate diploma, that will not help you to get the license of architecture in New Zealand. So if you want to get the license, you need to do a degree, which is a master's degree in architecture. The master's degree of architecture could be of a duration of 1 year or 2 years in New Zealand. There is no restriction of New Zealand, the duration, as it is in Australia. So you can do a 1-year master's, you can do a 1.5 years of master's, or you can do a 2-year master's. The difference between New Zealand and Australia is that Australia is a bigger economy. Australia, the size and scale, the job opportunities are far bigger than New Zealand, but New Zealand is also a great place for architects. And if you're doing a master's in Australia, in New Zealand, you get a 3 years of stay back. So both are great destinations. So it depends on your budget, it depends on your personal preference between the two countries, and that would probably help you decide.
Okay, thank you, Kiran ma'am.
Um,
Let's move on to United Kingdom. So when we talk about the stay back, let's first talk about the stay back in UK. So it's 2 years. Like even if your master course is 1 year course or a 2 year course, the stay back is of 2 years in United Kingdom. And generally, we also, this is basically the bifurcation कि एक आर्किटेक्चर का स्टूडेंट ग्रेजुएट होने के बाद क्या क्या सोचता है. सो अराउंड 76% एम्प्लॉयड होते हैं. कुछ वर्क एंड स्टडी दोनों साथ में कर लेते हैं, कोई फर्दर स्टडीज में जाता है, एंड बाकी कोई अपना आर्किटेक्चर का लाइसेंसिंग प्रोसेस करके खुद का आर्किटेक्चर का फर्म कर सकता है. सो दिस इज बेसिकली द ट्रेंड इन यूके. बट यस, जैसे द फर्स्ट पार्ट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि more than 50% of the students who graduate in UK in the field of architecture do go for a job, and which is a good thing. And Brexit होने के बाद से UK has started giving a 2 years of stay back, and now students have started moving to UK as well. So you can definitely look at UK as one of your options. And when we talk about architecture in Europe, okay, so it comes under the top 10 highest paid jobs in Europe. अगर हम ये देखेंगे तो 7th 8th नंबर पे आर्किटेक्चर आता है. एंड द एवरेज सैलरी विच एनी आर्किटेक्चर ग्रेजुएट जो होता है, इट इज समवेयर अराउंड 60 to 70,000 euros a year. That is the minimum package or a starting package which we can say on an average. एंड अगर हम स्टे बैक की बात करें तो यूरोप में कंट्री टू कंट्री स्टे बैक विल डिफर. ओके, सो जर्मनी, जैसे जर्मनी है, इट विल बी 2 years of course and 1.5 years of stay back. Netherlands 1 to 2 years of course and 1 year of stay back. सो फ्रांस भी है, 1 या 2 साल का कोर्स, 2 साल का स्टे बैक. सो कंट्री टू कंट्री द नंबर ऑफ years of stay back will differ. बट अभी कैसा है यूरोप में, you can also keep this point in mind. So जो 28 Schengen countries है, ठीक है, अगर तुम जर्मनी से पढ़ते हो, जर्मनी इज अ EU कंट्री, तो जर्मनी से पढ़ने के बाद तुमको अगर फ्रांस में जाके जॉब करना है, दैट इज पॉसिबल. शिफ्ट internally between those 28 EU countries is possible. So you can also keep that in mind. Like if you study in one EU country, you want to move to other EU country for a job, it's possible, it's easy. बट एवरी यूरोपियन कंट्री का एक लैंग्वेज है, उसको ध्यान में रखना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. क्योंकि तुम्हें अगर सी व्हाट वी डू इज वी स्टडी इन इंग्लिश. अभी भी अपना पूरा बी आर्क एंड पूरा स्टडीज अभी भी इंडिया में भी पूरा इंग्लिश में है. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज व्हेन यू गो देयर, एवरी कंट्री हैज देयर ओन लैंग्वेज. वील हैव टू रिस्पेक्ट देयर कल्चर, रिस्पेक्ट देयर लैंग्वेज. नाउ एवरी यूरोपियन लैंग्वेज के 6 लेवल्स होते हैं: A1 A2 B1 B2 एंड C1 C2. So A1 is the basic level and C2 is the literature level of the European language. So हमें B1 तक करना है. So if you're planning to move next year or next to next year, तुम अगर तुम्हारी country decided है, तो what you can do is you can start learning the language from now on. So what we at Imperial, we always suggest a student that he should complete at least 2 levels, 1 or 2 levels when he is in India, and do the 3rd and 4th level there, and you are set. देखो, अपने पास 1 या 2 साल है अपना पूरा सिलेबस खत्म करने के लिए. एंड एवरी यूरोपियन यूनिवर्सिटी तुमको लैंग्वेज का एक फ्री कोर्स हर यूनिवर्सिटी के पास होता है. सो इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट, अगर हम 1-2 लेवल्स यहीं से करके गए, एक बेस रेडी है, बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स पता है, वहां पे जाके एडवांस लेवल करके जॉब में बहुत इजी होगा, इवन इफ फॉर अ पार्ट टाइम और अ फुल टाइम जॉब. सो लैंग्वेज is the main criteria in Europe, and stay back will vary from country to country. So now we discussed about job and stay back, which was the important part. Now the most important part ki hum matlab as a student what courses we can go for, what courses we should look for. So let's understand what all courses are available for you as an B.Arch student.
Yeah, Akshay sir, before that I would just like to launch a poll.
Sure.
Yeah, so as we can see, most of you are worried, and it's rightly so. I mean, as it said, the threat is real. I mean, we all are worried about it, and you all are also worried about your future prospects. But again, we have to understand one thing, that we are all hoping that by the end of this year or start of next year, things would be much, much, much better than when we are right now. That is what everyone is hoping for. We all are hoping for the vaccines to come in, the medicines to come in. We all trust science. We all trust the technology, medical technology, science available for us right now, and we know they are doing their things to help us out. But now the point is, see, एक चीज है जो आप लोगों को समझनी है यहाँ पे, कि जो ये अगस्त सितंबर अक्टूबर 2020 में जाने वाले थे, उन बच्चों का चांस थोड़ा कम है, बिकॉज काफी जगहों के एम्बसीज ओपन नहीं है या फ्लाइट्स ओपन नहीं है, धीरे धीरे खुल रहा है. सो उनको जाने मिलेगा कि नहीं पता नहीं, बट देन दे आर डिफरिंग टू नेक्स्ट ईयर. हियर द पॉइंट इज, मेनी स्टूडेंट्स बिलीव और फील कि सर अगर हम इनको डिफरल मिल रहे हैं अगले साल के लिए, मतलब इनको ये अगर अगले साल आएंगे तो हमारा कंपटीशन बढ़ेगा क्या. सो द पॉइंट इज, हमने काफी सारी यूनिवर्सिटी से बात की है जहां पे उनको पूछा हुआ है हमने कि आप अगले साल के लिए क्या करोगे. तो दे आर वेरी क्लियर कि हम अगले साल के जो फ्रेश एप्लीकेंट्स है, न्यू एप्लीकेंट्स है, उनको इंडिपेंडेंटली ट्रीट करेंगे. इस साल जिन्होंने भी डिफरल्स लिए हैं या इस साल के जो बच्चे अगले साल आना चाहते हैं, उनकी सीट्स अलग है और इनके लिए हम फ्रेश रखने वाले हैं सब. सी बिकॉज व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इज, काफी सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज हाइब्रिड मॉडल से भी क्लासेस खोल रहे हैं. हाइब्रिड मॉडल आज के दिन में बच्चों को सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग के लिए हेल्प करेगा. अगले साल यही हाइब्रिड मॉडल नंबर ऑफ सीट्स बढ़ाने के लिए हेल्प करेगा. So this is something which would help the students a lot. Now, when we are talking about the course options, Akshay sir, can we go on to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you can see, irrespective of the country, okay, be it USA, be it Canada, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere in the Europe or anywhere, these are some of the common courses, or these are some of the specialized courses that you guys can get in these countries. Now, MArch, the Master of Architecture, is a common course. It's like the course that you are looking for. But some students out of you are like, sir, हम BR यहाँ पे 5 साल करके थक चुके हैं. हमको BR का ही एक्सटेंशन MArch नहीं करना है, हमको स्पेशलाइजेशन करना है. Many new things are coming up in the field of architecture, like green building, sustainable design, sustainable development. This is an up and coming thing. Many people are like, how do we go about जो ग्रीन बिल्डिंग का कंसेप्ट है या जो एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली कंसेप्ट है, उसका आर्किटेक्चर हम कैसे करें. तो उसके लिए ये कोर्स काफी काम आता है. अर्बन डिजाइन, टाउन प्लानिंग जो है, these are similar to each other. These are things which are needed because, like for example, Chandigarh is the most well planned cities in India. ये हम बचपन से सीखते आ रहे हैं. आप आर्किटेक्ट्स हो, आपको तो 5 साल ऑफ आर्किटेक्चर में रोज ड्रिल किया जाता है रेगुलरली ये चीज, which is a good thing. I mean, Chandigarh is absolutely the well-planned city in India, and it was designed by a French architect back then. So the point is, ये जो अर्बन डिजाइन है, टाउन प्लानिंग है, कैसे करना है, कौन से सेक्टर में क्या रखना है, वेस्ट का क्या करना है, किधर क्या करना है, मतलब एंटरटेनमेंट यूनिट, थिएटर्स कहाँ बनाने हैं, मॉल्स कहाँ बनाने हैं, स्कूल्स कहाँ है, मतलब सब प्लानिंग कैसे होता है, कितना सही से करना चाहिए, ये सारे कोर्सेज आपके लिए अवेलेबल है. इसके अलावा भी अगेन एनवायरमेंटल मैनेजमेंट, सस्टेनेबल डिजाइन इज मोर और लेस सिमिलर टू ईच अदर, सिर्फ मैनेजमेंट पर ज्यादा आएगा सेकंड वाले में. You even have some things to do with project management, construction management. Now when we talk about project management and construction management, ये चीजें इंजीनियर्स के लिए भी आती है, जो सिविल इंजीनियर होते हैं वो लोग भी ये चीज के लिए जाते हैं. बट यस, वी आर अवेयर ऑफ सम स्टूडेंट्स ऑफ आवर्स, मतलब जिन्होंने प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट या कंस्ट्रक्शन मैनेजमेंट के लिए गए हैं. Like what happens is, like I'll give you an example. They are architects, okay, the students that we are talking about, they are architects themselves. Their respective fathers or some close relative, they own a development firm, like they are themselves architects as well, and उनका एक building construction का पूरा एक development का firm है. And these students know architecture from here, but they are like, sir, architecture design part और जो sustainable part है वो हम सीख गए यहाँ पे, but हमको management सीखना है या फिर building कैसे बनता है, सब पूरा जो construction management होता है, राइट फ्रॉम प्लानिंग टू एग्जीक्यूशन स्टेज जो करना होता है, प्रोक्योरमेंट वगैरह वगैरह सब मिला के, वो हमें सीखना है. उस केस के लिए बच्चे प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट या कंस्ट्रक्शन मैनेजमेंट के लिए जाते हैं. सो दीज आर द डिफरेंट सब्जेक्ट्स दैट आर अवेलेबल फॉर यू. Some of these subjects are under STEM. Okay, most of them are under STEM. I'll be honest with you. Only at some places, urban design, landscape, टाउन प्लानिंग जो पार्ट है वो कोई जगह पे स्टेम पे नहीं आता है, आधे जगह पे नहीं आता। लेट मी कीप इट वेरी क्लियर। बाकी जो डोमेन्स है, आर्किटेक्चर, प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट, कंस्ट्रक्शन मैनेजमेंट, सस्टेनेबल, एनवायरमेंटल, ये सारे के सारे स्टेम में 99% आ जाते हैं। So these are the different courses available for you. And again, when I say this is not just USA, this is available across the globe. सारे countries में ये courses आपके लिए available है। Akshay sir, if you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, again, these are the specialization continuing from the previous slide. Under architecture, these are the different type of specializations available for you. You guys know this better, more than us in the panel. You guys know this better of what all these things do. I mean, there is a lot of scope. If you look at the last part over here, heritage architecture, even heritage architecture has an amazing scope across. Like, for example, if you look at Europe, mein heritage is like, history and heritage is like bhar bhar ke hai. Okay. So heritage architecture is doing very well overall as well, even though people are not so much aware of it. I mean, you guys are, outside people are not. So I mean, these are the fields specializations available for you. So you can absolutely look into this. Would any of the panelists like to share something on the courses available?
Yeah, you rightly said that all these courses are available. I would like to speak about Canada specifically. All these courses are, rightly available in all of the institutes that we're talking about. Of course, we will be discussing the licensing part, whether these qualify for licensing or no. We'll be discussing that shortly. But I just wanted to add one, detail. There are many universities from those 11 institutes as well, which offer dual degrees in some cases. So probably a master's in architecture along with a master's in urban designing, for example, is offered by many universities in Canada. So anybody who is looking for dual degrees can also apply, put in applications. We will shortly also talk about what are the requirements, specific requirements for these kind of programs. So yeah, just one detail from me. Thank you.
HK ma'am, you would like to add something? Oh, Akshay. Okay.
Yeah, talking
Akshay.
about these courses in Europe, yes, as Hiren sir rightly mentioned, Heritage has a lot of scope. We have a couple of students who applied for heritage management related courses in Europe. But yes, more or less, all these courses are also available in any part of Europe. Yes, Kiran ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same is available in Australia, like all New Zealand, both, all courses, be it project management, construction management, urban planning, interior design, landscape architecture, of course, MArch, which is the main degree, all are available in both Australia and New Zealand. I think I would also like to state here that there is no concept of STEM and non-STEM. When it comes to, at least in a lot of countries, I think outside of US, probably there is no such concept of STEM, non-STEM. So you go for construction management, project management, sustainable engineering or design, you go for urban planning, or you go for masters of architecture. There is no concept with that. If it's a STEM degree, you are given a preference over a non-STEM degree. So the student does not have to worry about that if he is going for countries other than US.
Okay. Akshay sir, I would like to run a poll here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So we can see a mixed bag actually right now. Some of you are very much sure. Obviously, whatever we spoke in the last few minutes regarding courses, you are trying to absorb and grasp that thing, and now you would think more about whatever we spoke about, and you can think about more about the courses that you're going for. Akshay sir, if you can continue.
Yeah. So next is a very important aspect when it comes to the application part. Like, how important is a portfolio for an architecture student?
Actually,
so let's understand it.
We should get an architecture professor or a student only over here to answer this question.
Yeah. So yes, Hiren sir, how important is a portfolio in the US?
A lot, a lot. Not just US. I mean, all the panelists would
Yeah.
agree with me. But if I start off with the US, obviously the other panelists will take it over from me later. But there are certain misconceptions. First of all, portfolio. Let's start by describing what it is. I don't think the audience here needs a description, but whatever
Yeah.
work you have done on architecture level, on design level, on creative level in the past, that you document it in some way, in a physical way or a digital way, and you present it to maybe the university, maybe the employer, for you to get a job or to get an admit from the university. That is what a portfolio is all about. Now, there is a lot of misconception in many students' mind. And if you talk to some of your seniors who are genuinely your well-wishers, you would understand better. What happens ना, many a time students feel कि मैंने है ना मेरे 5 साल के अंडरग्रेड में 20 प्रोजेक्ट्स पे काम किया, मिनी मेजर प्रोजेक्ट्स मिला मिला के. So what students try is कि जो पोर्टफोलियो का लिमिट दिया रहता है, यूनिवर्सिटीज लिमिट देते हैं, मे बी एक्स नंबर ऑफ स्लाइड्स, मे बी NGB, MBs वगैरह वगैरह में आपका पोर्टफोलियो हमारे पास आना चाहिए. बच्चे क्या ट्राई करते हैं काफी बार कि वो लोग सारे के सारे चीजें जो भी किए होते हैं, छोटी बड़ी, सब अपने पोर्टफोलियो में डालने का ट्राई करते हैं, which is actually not the correct way to go about it. Ideally speaking, students should pick up 3 to 4, yeah, good projects that they have worked on and describe those projects in detail in your portfolio. And those things would help you more rather than projecting more projects. Because what happens is some of them are your first or second year projects or assignments that you have worked on, which are very, very, very at elementary level, which is okay. No one is arguing on that part. But towards the later years, when your finesse is improving, when your finishing is improving, when your skills are improving in the field of architecture, obviously a first year architecture student versus a fifth year architecture student, things are going to be tremendously different, no doubt about it. So towards the end, whatever projects you have done, 3 or 4 good projects that you have worked on, if you describe them more in detail, that would help you more than showing small projects here and there. And universities ask for it. I mean, all the universities, when you are going for architecture, along with your other entrance exam scores, which we'll discuss in the next slides, but universities ask for it, and you need to project your best part forward, how good you are technically, how good your creativity is. These all things should be highlighted in these 3-4 projects, how well you can do it. Okay, I mean, these are the requirements. I mean, you can just go through them, like how many pages are required, what size is required, etc., etc., etc. Different universities have different concepts. Some use Lightroom, some ask you to upload it somewhere, some ask you to send a link somewhere. The best thing is there are a couple of websites, we'll maybe send it to you later, wherein you can actually upload your architectural portfolios. And when you upload your architectural portfolios on such websites, what happens, the best part is that you just send them the link to the university or to your employer. They just go on the website. It's open to all. They can just check your portfolio on the website and they can make the best out of it. You guys can get the best out of it. Okay, so these are the things that would help you understand and describe your portfolio well. Like, I mean, images talk a lot, okay, but 1 or 2 lines below will help you, not like an entire paragraph, but a couple of lines below would help you as well. But the images actually will talk a lot. So this is what about portfolio. I mean, the other panelists can take this over.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing my view on this. So I think portfolio is basically your individual perception and your individual presentation of your best work. Okay, so when it comes to a portfolio, there is no right or wrong. What the faculty in that particular college is trying to understand is your skill set, and they're trying to understand your range of work. So as a counselor, we always recommend students to show as much variety of work as possible. And of course, choosing your best work, like of course choosing more work from your later part of the course, later part of the degree helps, because of course your work is improving. So your work towards the final stages of your degree, your bachelor's degree, will be far better than the first and the second year. So yes, you need to shortlist, you need to understand what best work you have to present. But as I said, there is no right and wrong, and it is a very individualized thing. So the more, you know, your personal views and your personal ideas, your concepts are shown in the portfolio, the better it would be. So don't go by a standardized format or a template. You know, just put your best work, and that would help you differentiate your work from others. That being said, a portfolio is required for only the Masters of Architecture degree or any design degree. If you're going for construction management, project management, or any other, you know, management related field, there is no portfolio required. So if you're going for any architecture or design related field, yes, definitely your portfolio will be required. Your portfolio can be uploaded online digitally. As Hiren sir mentioned, there are many websites where you can upload not just your architecture work. If you have, like, if you're passionate about photography, if you have created some 3D videos, or you think you have something, you know, a digital talent that may not have been taught to you during your architecture, feel free to add that, you know, because that just shows your you know, your personal side of your interest, or, you know, your skill set. So yeah, just choose your best work, put it on that platform, and include that on your resume. That is what we would recommend.
Yeah. So yes, the same requirement stands for Europe or UK as well. So yes, you should give like we have students who are applying for architecture who have got admits from Europe and UK. So yes, we have seen their efforts in making the portfolio. Sometimes what university does is if you send them a portfolio and they want some more detailed information, they will definitely, some universities definitely get back to students that they need some more information or they need something additional in that portfolio. But yes, we'll have to make our portfolio, you know, a properly oriented thing. Moving ahead, now is the part where we'll be discussing the requirements, like what would be the eligibility criteria. Let's start with United States.
Yeah. So thank you, Akshay sir. So requirements. Okay, we went in the previous part of portfolio. The most important requirement for all of you is the portfolio. Okay, that is like the prime requirement. When we talk about, I mean, when we talk about different this thing, what do we say? Entrance exams or GPA or something. A good GPA, that is a good percentage score in your undergraduate curriculum, will help you tremendously. It will help you reach places. Now we have to understand one thing, that you guys are going for architecture course. Some schools, not all, but some schools ask for something known as WS evaluation as well. WS evaluation is basically converting your GPA on, which is on the scale of 10 or maybe on a scale of 100 in India, to a scale of 4 as per US requirements. And not all, but some schools are like, we need a WS evaluation officially from WS, which costs around $250 to $300 for you. $250 से $300 का खर्चा जाता है इस पे, but yeah, but it is needed, and they give you a GPA out of 4. In that case, anything above a 3 GPA is a good GPA. Obviously, that will help you a lot. And yeah, and the point is, I mean, this thing, the GPA is very important. Your portfolio is the most critical thing apart from that. And yes, some schools ask for a GRE score as well. Some schools which are more bent on the design part may waive off the GRE, but a good chunk of the schools do ask for the GRE score as well for you guys. That is critical. Ankur sir in the next few slides will talk about GRE as well. A good TOEFL score will help you, because again, what happens is many a times people feel architecture is like a technical or a creative degree. Agreed. But many architects, when they work, they are like, at times the architects run point coordination between the, maybe the engineers, maybe the client, maybe the different workers, etc. So basically, when we are talking about coordination work, the TOEFL becomes critical, because the speaking section of TOEFL and the listening part, it becomes critical for you. So TOEFL becomes another important thing for you. If not TOEFL, alternate exams can be IELTS, PT not so much, but IELTS. So these are the basic requirements. Apart from that, you need a good statement of purpose. Basically, whatever you have done here, why you wish to go there, what you wish to do after you go there, your letter of recommendations, maybe from 3 professors, or maybe from a couple of professors, and one where you have worked with, or you have interned with, maybe even this thing, I mean, if you are working for the past 4 or 5 years and you can take 2 from your workplace and 1 from your college, that's okay, no problem. Take it from a good professor in the college who has taught you some relevant subjects rather than the reputation of the professor. So these are some things that are critically required for your US admissions. Sonali ma'am, you can take care of the Canada part.
So I think the requirements for Canada stay almost the same. Everything is similar. Just the GPA part in your bachelor's, you might require a higher GPA as compared to other countries. The GPA requirement for a master's in architecture can be anywhere between 70 to 75% overall. If you're looking for other programs like project management, construction management, or related programs, then the GPA requirement might be between 65 to 70%. These are the minimum requirements. Of course, since these are competitive courses, they do judge your profile depending on how many students have applied, and all those things also do come into the picture. Secondly, I just want to highlight about the GRE part. GRE is mostly required for universities in the US, but certain Canadian universities prefer you giving the GRE scores as well. What do I mean by prefer GRE scores is it is not mandatory, but if you give your GRE scores to these universities, it can add up to your profile as well. So that also shows the kind of competitiveness or the kind of the level of your profile that you have. IELTS score will not be 6.5 for master's in architecture programs. IELTS score will be higher than that. Anywhere between a 7 to 7.5 of overall score is required if you are planning to go for a master's in architecture program from the 11 institutes that I'm talking about, which are the accredited institutes by the CAPC. For other programs, it can be anywhere, the IELTS requirement is 6.5 and above. 6.5 being the minimum overall, and nothing less than 6. TOEFL, on the other hand, for masters in architecture is 100 plus. If you're looking for those 11 institutes, if you're looking usually for programs like project management or construction management, the TOEFL requirement is 90 plus. So yeah, the portfolio requirements remain the same. At times there may be some interviews with the faculty members which may be arranged for certain colleges. It is dependent on case-to-case basis, so you may get a request for an interview as well to discuss your program. I think other things like your SOP, LORs and everything remain the same. Your resume, portfolio, everything remains the same.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I just missed out one part. With regards to GRE for the US, at times some universities might not ask for it, but for visa purpose, you might need the GRE score. Otherwise your visa interview might be a bit of an issue for you. That is something that people should understand before taking a call on this. Thank you. Continue, Akshay sir.
Yeah. Kiran ma'am, how about the entry requirements in Australia and New Zealand?
Right. So Australia, New Zealand, more or less the requirements are similar, except that because there are many options available university-wise, so the GPA is not the biggest concern. That even if you have a lower GPA, say you have a 50-55% and above, you can easily get into a master's of architecture. A portfolio plays a very crucial role. So just being able to portray your best work is really helpful, and showing it in a very professional manner helps. Akshay, have you changed the slide? Because I can't see that the slide has changed.
No,
At least to me, it is
this is
still okay.
yeah, this is the common slide now.
Oh, okay, fine. So unlike just one difference, I mean, everything else remains the same. You take a TOEFL or an IELTS, and the IELTS score is also mentioned 6.5 with no band less than 6. It remains the same for both Australia and New Zealand. The only difference is the GRE. So GRE is not required for any course in Australia and New Zealand. That is the only difference between all these entry requirements. Other than that, most of the documents and the English language requirement, everything remains the same.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. And when we talk about UK and Europe, this requirement still remains the same. For say there are some public universities in Germany, or say some top universities of Europe, we might need a higher GPA somewhere around 70-75%, but overall 50-60% is also fine. Like with some universities or some countries, we can definitely look for 50-55% and above. And English proficiency requirement remains the same. No need for giving an GRE. And other documents like SOP, LOR, transcripts, resume, these are basically portfolio. These are basically common documents which are required everywhere. Now, talking about the entrance exam, Ankur sir, how important is it to give GRE, and what is GRE all about?
Yeah,
Akshay sir,
sure.
can I just run a poll before that, please?
Sure.
I like the two options that were mentioned.
Nice. And this is like, I mean, wow.
Kiran, we would probably also, we could ask them which year of architect BArch are they into right now. So maybe you
I
can prepare a poll while Ankur can start.
Yes, yes, sure. So guys,
just one, sorry, Ankur, just one more poll, just a second.
oh, okay, yeah. I think that's an important one to know. And यहाँ पे it'll be a mix, I think. Let's
I
see.
believe so. I believe so. You're correct.
Verbal ज़्यादा आएगा.
Because generally, let's see, yeah.
And look at the results.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
So,
this is real time
yeah.
result. Okay. Yeah, Ankur
So,
sir, continue.
we were expecting this because कल हमने engineering वाले में ये poll run किया था, तो it was 90% problem with verbal and 10% I think quant. But architecture, this is what we expected. So let me start. So basically, last year we had two students who did the GRE with us, and in fact, I'm going live with one of them on Monday. So you guys all should come on Monday. So he did. They both did GRE with us. Now they are doing their MArch there, and so. Basically, see, as Hiren sir said, कि GRE या तो थोड़ी जगह पे required होगा US में, थोड़ी जगह पे recommended होगा, and थोड़ी जगह पे it is possible they've said कि not required also. And जहाँ recommended लिखा है वहाँ पे ये एक one thing which will be important is they will look at your academic performance also, and if that is low, then GRE does will play a pretty important role. So section wise, I am pretty sure most of you will be aware of this breakup. In the beginning, we have analytical writing assessment, where there are 2 essays to be written, which is a separate score out of 6. और फिर आपका quant and verbal section शुरू होता है. Each section में आपको 20 questions आएंगे. So like that, 4 sections, and then 1 section experiment on that day. Just 1 second, my battery is running low. 1 second.
Akshay sir, you can continue with the GRE part in the meanwhile. You are one of our trainers. I am sure you can take it over.
Yeah. So, Ankur sir rightly said, so GRE is divided into 3 parts. पहला है AWA, which is scored 0 to 6, फिर verbal out of 170 and quant out of 170. So अगर हम GRE overall देखें, ठीक है, so it is a 340 marks exam and 260 is a 0. Okay, so ideally अगर हम GRE के बारे में देखें तो 80 question 80 marks है. और क्या होता है, मतलब यहाँ पे तो लिखा है 2 section quant 2 section verbal, बट नीचे अगर तुम एंड में देखोगे तो 1 unscored section, वो quant भी आ सकता है, verbal भी आ सकता है, एज अ स्टूडेंट तुम्हें पता नहीं होगा या किसी को भी पता नहीं चल सकता कि कौन सा अनस्कोर्ड रहेगा. ओके, एंड GRE जो एग्जाम है दैट इज बेसिकली सेक्शन एडेप्टिव एग्जाम. नाउ व्हाट डू आई मीन बाय सेक्शन एडेप्टिव एग्जाम? पहले वर्बल के सेक्शन में 20 क्वेश्चन में जैसे तुम्हारा परफॉर्मेंस रहेगा, इफ 20 में से अगर तुम्हारे 15-18 सही आ गए तो सेकंड सेक्शन थोड़ा टफ आता है. पहला सेक्शन अगर तुम्हारा सिर्फ 10 ही सही आया तो सेकंड सेक्शन थोड़ा और इजी आता है. सो GRE इज बेसिकली अ सेक्शन एडेप्टिव एग्जाम. So we'll have to, you know, give our dedication equally to all the sections. And very important thing is the time. जैसे वर्बल में 20 क्वेश्चन के लिए 30 मिनट्स है, क्वांट में 20 क्वेश्चन के लिए 35 मिनट्स है. मतलब 1 से 1.5 मिनट के अंदर वो क्वेश्चन सॉल्व होना चाहिए, वो एबिलिटी हमें बनानी पड़ेगी. That's basically about the GRE exam. Yeah.
And one thing I'll just add, you don't need to worry about the quant section at all. The maths is only till 9th and 10th grade. But what happens is the wordings are complex. दोनों maths और English में आपका जो questions है, उसका जो structure है, उसका length है, वो सब complex है. So what we train you is to develop that skill of reading, whether it is a quant question or a verbal question, and then apply the logic to solve it. So you don't need to worry at all. It is a very, very doable exam. You can attend the demo that we are doing tomorrow, and we'll cover all the question types. You'll be able to see and understand कि क्या है questions और कैसे solve करना है.
Okay. Let's move on to the next exam. This is basically an English proficiency exam. Yes, Ankur sir. How about TOEFL?
Yeah, so unlike GRE, TOEFL or IELTS is a requirement everywhere. So like we just discussed little while back कि requirement कितना है, कितना score चाहिए. And both the tests are very straightforward tests. They are not as difficult as GRE. Reading, listening, speaking and writing. Okay, बस ये 4 section है. And what really needs to happen is you just need to practice the test. So when you attend our classes, we do teach पहले थोड़ा बहुत concepts, but very soon we start practicing the actual test, because ये वाले जो TOEFL और IELTS है, it is just about getting into the habit of doing those tasks that they give you in the specific amount of time. जैसे you can see over there, reading का task है 3-4 passages है 54-72 minutes. So like that, it is something that we just need to get the mastery of the speed, so that you don't run out of time like especially speaking में बहुत ही issue होता है. So you have to get into the habit that you finish the task in the given time. So वो बहुत ही simple and doable है. Again, we have the live lectures for that. You all are most welcome to attend a demo for that as well.
Okay.
Ankur
Moving
sir,
ahead.
I had one query that how much time does it require for the GRE to prepare, and when should they start for GRE?
Yeah, so GRE के लिए we typically it depends on how much time you can put in during the week. So for example, I'll just explain the way our structure is there. हमारा एक weekday है which is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 hours every day, and एक है weekend which is Saturday, Sunday, 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday. Now, if someone does one of these, so either the weekday or weekend, then it takes about 2.5 to 3 months to finish. And उसके बाद you give another 15-20 days for the mocks. So around 3.5 months. अभी अगर आपको fast करना है, so you devote the entire week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, Sunday, Friday is our off. So you devote that, then you can finish off in a month and a half. So typically we've calculated exact hours. It will take you 72 hours for the learning part, classwork. And if you put in another 72 hours for practice, you are done. So about 144 hours.
Okay. How about IELTS exam, Ankur sir?
IELTS same, like same, everything same. Just of course the scoring pattern is different, and they see TOEFL is computer test. IELTS may there will be someone in front of you when you'll speak, so that's the difference. So some people do find IELTS little easier than TOEFL. So it depends, you know, कि आप कौन से country में apply कर रहे हो. Generally, if you're applying only to US, we generally recommend GRE and TOEFL because TOEFL ज़्यादा थोड़ा accepted है US में, and obviously other countries में IELTS is more accepted. But everything else remains same. You have listening, you have reading, you have writing, and you have speaking. Time wise, listening का 40 minutes है, reading 1 hour, writing 1 hour, speaking 11 to 14 minutes. So otherwise, there is a lot of similarity, but in the nature of questions, you'll find slight difference.
Okay. So now let's understand the license process country by country. Let's start with the United States. Yes, Hiren sir.
Yeah. You can put on the slide, Akshay sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so guys, another. So क्या होता है ना, हमारा काम यहाँ पे आधा टाइम, ओके, हमारे लाइफ का आधा टाइम है ना मिसकंसेप्शंस जो है ना वो क्लियर करने में जाता है rather than doing something constructive. Because what happens is, like for example, अगर आपको इंडिया में प्रैक्टिस करना है एज एन आर्किटेक्ट, ऑब्वियसली आपको लाइसेंस की जरूरत है. तो काफी लोगों का असम्पशन ये होता है कि यूएस में अगर हमें प्रैक्टिस करना है तो हमें लाइसेंस की जरूरत है, विच इज नॉट करेक्ट. आपको लाइसेंस की जरूरत अमेरिका में तब पड़ेगी जब आपको खुद का आर्किटेक्चर फर्म खोलना है. तो अगर आपको एज एन आर्किटेक्ट किसी एस्टैब्लिश्ड आर्किटेक्ट के अंडर काम करना है तो आपको लाइसेंस की जरूरत नहीं है. ओके, because guys understand license is an expensive affair, it costs a lot, plus you need minimum 3, 4 or even 5 years experience at a point in time to get the license sorted in the US. You need a degree from NAB accredited university, architecture degree, not the other degree, which is fine, which is okay, you can get that through. You need an architecture internship, you need to put in those many number of hours in the field of architecture, which is quite a lot, and all these things take 3, 4 or 5 years of your life to get the degree. Okay, so rather than that, if you guys are working for some architect, then you don't need any license as such. So the point is, you can go ahead for license, but that would take say 5 or 6 years including your studies, which is okay. But the point is, these are the steps mentioned here which you need to follow to get the license sorted. Okay, one more thing, there is another misconception in many people's mind who feel that sir, अगर हम 3 साल का आर्किटेक्चर डिग्री लेंगे तो ही हम लाइसेंस के लिए एलिजिबल है. No, again, architecture as a degree for 3 years is mostly for local American students who have completed their bachelor's in 3 or 4 years only. For them it is 3 years. For any Indian student who has completed the architecture in 5 years, for them 1 or 2 year degree is fine, and उसके बाद भी वो लाइसेंस ले सकते हैं, उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, उनको मिल सकता है. But again, if you ask me personally, America में at least license लेना doesn't make sense, because you can do very well under any architect and you can earn a decent pay, very good pay in couple of years in America after you graduate. So as such, it is not needed. But yeah, then these are the process that you need to follow. You can continue, Akshay sir.
Yes, Sonali ma'am, how about the license process for Canada?
Yes. So the license part in Canada is more or less similar to what Hiren sir said. In order to use the term architect or to practice as an architect in any of the provinces in Canada, you would definitely require a license. But of course, if you want to work under an already licensed architect, you want to work under their care, or you want to be associated with a company, then you do not require a license. Okay, so if you want to individually practice or work as an architect, want yourself to be registered architect, only then will the license part come in. Of course, it's definitely going to be a costly affair, as similar to US, and it will take a good number of years of your time. But however, if people graduating from the 11 institutes, if you have taken the effort to get into those institutes, and if you want a master's in architecture degree, you can definitely try for a license. In Canada, there are 3 steps that you follow, that you meet, if I could say, that you meet if you want to be eligible for a license in Canada. The first point is the education part. The education part includes graduating from the 11 institutes in Canada with a master's in architecture degree. None of the other programs will grant you this status, and none of the other programs will make you eligible for a license part in Canada. Secondly, the experience part. Now, this is where which is going to be a bit time consuming. After you graduate from these institutes, you need to take up an internship in architecture program, which is popularly also known as the IAP. This is a path to getting a license in Canada, and the goal over here is going to be to register or meet at least 2,800 hours of work experience. This work experience will be carried under a licensed architect who will be judging you, who will be rating you, and also registering how many number of hours you are putting in. Depending upon their feedback is when you are going to be eligible for the next step. This person, the licensed architect that I'm talking about, is going to be a member of the CACB that we spoke about earlier in the first time. Secondly, coming to the last part, after doing all this, you are then eligible for the examination, which is also called as examination of for architects in Canada. This is the last step for you to grant for you to get the license in Canada. These are basically, there are 4 examinations in total involved, and which cover a variety of topics ranging from programming to building codes to project management. And the success rate for these exams is around 75%. This is the official data that I have taken from the examination of architecture's website. The 75% data is true for 2019. So the number of students, I think there were approximately close to 1,000 students who sat for the exam, and the success rate for those people is around 75%. Of course, you are allowed to reattempt any of these 4 papers that I'm talking about, 4 examinations that we're talking about. If you, let's say, if you get through one of the exam, and if you do not get through the last, the other 3, there is a possibility, there is a choice that you may attempt only those 3 and just keep the one pass exam aside. So that is there, but then you get only 3 attempts to achieve this. With only 3 attempts you will have to clear this exam, and then you will be granted the license. If you are not able to crack the exam in these 3 attempts, or even if one paper remains in these 3 attempts, you won't be allowed to go further. So looking at all these complications, I think working under a registered architect or be associating yourself with a company, I think that looks good for me right now. Unless you have plans of settling in Canada long term and then want to invest your time into this, you can definitely do that. But as a student at this point of your time in your career, I think working under a company would be.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sonali ma'am. Let's understand the license process in Australia and New Zealand. Yes, Kiran ma'am.
Yes, so as mentioned by Sonali ma'am and Hiren sir, also in Australia, it is a regulated profession. You need to have a license to practice as an architect in both Australia and New Zealand. However, in both these countries, fortunately, the licensing process is not very complicated. So what happens is that if you pursue your Masters of Architecture from a recognized public university and you graduate in 2 years, I'm talking about Australia first, and you graduate with a Masters in Architecture, in order to get a license, you need to work in a registered architecture firm for 2 years. Once you do that, you have to apply for your license with the architecture practice examination, the board, which is Architects Accreditation Council of Australia, AACA. There is a small exam that they conduct, which is conducted by the APE, which is the Architectural Practice Examination. So if you clear the exam, you have 2 years of work experience in a registered architecture firm. and you pursue a 2 years of Masters of Architecture from Australia, it is possible to get a license. Once you do apply to the AACA for your licensing, it takes about 3 to 4 months to get your license. So it is fairly simple compared to most countries to get a license of working as a registered architect in Australia. However, it is also possible for you to work under a registered architect or a registered architecture firm without this license. So you can work as an architecture designer, you can work as an urban designer, you can work in many other spaces, but you can't use your own name and sign as an architect, basically, until you receive this license. In New Zealand also, it is more or less the same. In New Zealand also, you require 2 years of work experience, and then you need to clear a small exam, and you need to apply for your licensing architecture license with the NZRAB, which is the New Zealand Registered Architects Board. And if you meet the criteria, you complete the exam, you are doing a Masters of Architecture from New Zealand, you do get the license of working as an architect in either of the two countries. So this is the process for Australia and New Zealand. Akshay.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Let's move ahead. As I told earlier, ये जो RIBA है, Royal Institutes of British Architects, उनका basically there are 3 steps of applying for a license. सबसे पहला तो as a student of BArch in India, we to have 5 years of architecture, तो पहला step तो हमारा हो चुका है. सेकेंड एटलीस्ट years of experience. तो जैसे अभी इंडिया वाला जो एक्सपीरियंस हम ले सकते हैं, ओके, सो हम एक उसके बाद वो एक्सपीरियंस लेने के बाद हमें एक यूनिवर्सिटी में डिप्लोमा या एमआर्क दोनों में से हम कोई भी चूज कर सकते हैं. दैट विल बेसिकली लास्ट फॉर 2 years. ये हो गया स्टेप 2 कि मैंने एमआर्क कर लिया एक एक्रेडिटेड यूनिवर्सिटी से. अब आते हैं स्टेप 3 पे. अब टोटल ऑफ एटलीस्ट 24 months ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस. जैसे हमने स्टेप 2 में आने से पहले 1 साल का एक्सपीरियंस हो गया, अभी यहाँ पे मैंने वापस 1 साल का एक्सपीरियंस ले लिया, ठीक है, 12 months बिफोर द पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट एंड आफ्टर द पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट. सो ऐसे 24 months का जो अपना एक्सपीरियंस होने के बाद मैं वो रीबा के पार्ट 3 क्वालिफिकेशन के लिए अप्लाई कर सकता हूँ. ठीक है, पार्ट 3 क्वालिफिकेशन में वो बेसिकली क्या करते हैं, वो तुम्हें एडवांस डिप्लोमा देते हैं, ओके, फॉर प्रोफेशनल प्रैक्टिस इन द आर्किटेक्चर फील्ड. तो इस एग्जाम, ये बेसिकली एग्जाम होती है, एग्जाम 3 दिन चलती है, ठीक है. सो पहले दिन तुम्हारा वो सारा क्वालिफिकेशंस वगैरह चेक करेंगे, दूसरे दिन तुम वो एग्जाम दोगे, तीसरे दिन वो तुम्हारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स एसेस करेंगे, तुम्हारा CV, SOP, LOR जो भी है, सारे रेफरेंसेस वगैरह सारा एसेस करेंगे, एंड देन दे विल डिक्लेयर योर रिजल्ट्स. ओके, ये एक बार फाइनल एग्जाम तुम पास हो जाओगे तभी वो जॉब टाइटल आर्किटेक्ट तुम यूज कर सकते हो. और जैसे बाकी पैनलिस्ट ने डिस्कस किया, अगर तुम्हें किसी दूसरे आर्किटेक्चर फर्म में काम करना है या किसी आर्किटेक्ट के अंडर काम करना है तो तुम्हें लाइसेंस की जरूरत नहीं है. मूविंग अहेड टू द लाइसेंस प्रोसेस इन यूरोप, हर कंट्री का अपना एक अलग प्रोसेस है. मैंने यहाँ पे 3 कंट्रीज के बारे में डिस्कस किया है. सो अगर हमें जर्मनी में अगर हमें आर्किटेक्ट कहलाना है, ठीक है, तो एक प्रोविंशियल चेंबर ऑफ आर्किटेक्ट्स होता है, उसमें हमें खुद को रजिस्टर करना पड़ेगा एंड उनकी लाइसेंस एग्जाम की प्रोसेस. कहीं पे भी किसी भी कंट्री में अगर हम लाइसेंस एग्जाम देखते हैं तो वो अपना BArch, नंबर ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस, MArch, उसके बाद अपने सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स, ये सारी चीजें देख के ही हमें लाइसेंस ग्रांट करेंगे. जैसे आयरलैंड में है रॉयल इंस्टीट्यूट्स ऑफ आर्किटेक्ट्स इन आयरलैंड. अभी आयरलैंड में क्या होता है, बेसिकली इट टेक्स 7 years. जो टोटल पूरा लाइसेंस का प्रोसेस है उसमें 7 साल लगते हैं. तुम्हारी पढ़ाई प्लस अ कपल ऑफ इयर्स ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस, अ टोटल ऑफ 7 years टू गेट अ लाइसेंस इन आयरलैंड. एंड अगर हम इटली की बात करें तो ऑर्डर ऑफ आर्किटेक्ट्स करके उनका एक बोर्ड है जिसमें हमें रजिस्टर करके उनकी बेसिकली एक एग्जाम देनी रहती है. तो वो 4 एग्जाम्स लेते हैं, 3 रिटन एंड 1 ओरल. तो उसमें हम एग्जाम पास करनी होती है, फिर हमें बेसिकली लाइसेंस मिलता है टू बी कॉल्ड एज एन आर्किटेक्ट. बट बाकी बिना लाइसेंस के अगर तुमको काम करना है, तुम किसी भी फर्म में या किसी भी आर्किटेक्ट के अंडर काम कर सकते हो. सो अभी हमने डिस्कस कर लिया कि क्या ऑप्शंस है, कोर्सेज, एलिजिबिलिटी. नाउ लेट्स कम टू एन इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट जो स्टूडेंट्स देखते हैं, दैट इज फिनेंस. एंड क्या कोविड-19 का इम्पैक्ट है, मतलब कितना खर्चा आएगा, एंड अभी ये कोविड के वजह से क्या होने वाला है आगे जाके. So let's understand the funding and the finances option from Banit sir.
Banit sir. Akshay sir, I'll just run a couple of polls before that.
Sure.
Yeah. बनित सर देख रहे हो, लोग डरे हुए हैं इकोनॉमिक इम्पैक्ट पे.
Agreed.
हाँ,
So guys,
I'll
first,
run.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you learn one
Hello.
question? Okay, fair enough.
No. हाँ, just one more. Yeah, that should be. Yeah, it's in continuation. I mean, it's an add-on to this thing.
Absolutely.
Economics and finance go hand in hand, right? सर देखो, लोग इकोनॉमिक और फाइनेंस को लेकर डरे हुए हैं.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. So here is Mr. Banit Singh Sahni to solve all your doubts regarding economic and finance. Don't worry, he's an expert himself.
Thank you, Hiren. Thank you, panelists. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Banit. We've been in the overseas education space for the last year. And HK, you're mute. Can you mute yourself? Okay. So we've been in the
I did that.
Okay, done. So we've been in the overseas education space, and we've been counseling students. Now I basically had the organization. Now obviously the more important aspect of the point is how is it still a value proposition for you to go study abroad? That is the first thing, more so after the COVID-19 impact. That's the second. Further from the session, I mean as all of you are still in terms of looking at options, and if you can look out from all the countries which are there, being an architect is a long-term kind of a process, to get the architecture license, to move in. So you're not looking at it particularly from the short-term game. Right now, COVID-19 is impacting the short-term criteria, wherein the world over, starting from IMF and all the leading economists globally, are impacted, or are saying the impact of COVID-19 would be a short-term. Yes, it will be to, say, the construction sector, it might be to the infrastructure sector, but that impact will not hold long-term. In fact, the kind of governments which are spending. So let's come to पहले हम समझते हैं कि scope and opportunity and why finances and why from the economics angle. This is where is important. So the government right now are spending huge amount in terms of as soon as it. So what happens in an economic recession again and again, year on year, or maybe time and again, economic recession is not a new thing. We are not the only ones. Every 10 or 15 years ये आता है. During that time, the government spending increases. Once the government spending increases, more infrastructure projects happen. And who are going to make those infrastructure projects? Architects. So that is exactly the point of taking this forward. So when that is happening, I mean, you see it, Modi ji ne some 10 crore, billion crore something kiya. US economy, some $2 trillion have been funded. I think Angela Merkel himself, she said that some $550 billion they have agreed between France. So where will this money go? Where will this money move? So firstly, all of you guys who are looking out there, this is a natural progressive cycle. All of you guys, in terms of architects, in terms of who are looking at construction and building things, trust me, it is the bottom of the curve, and you will move up with the ladder. So notwithstanding, that is where the economics and where still going abroad is a viable option. Yes, no, that's where we come in. Second, now let's come down to a bit of अभी breaking of how to finance your immediate education. So one was कि long term recovery होगी या नहीं होगी. That was there. Actually, the first slide. We're still on the we'll move on the first slide where I want to understand. I'm going to tell them what are the options availability in terms of finances. So most of you would see in terms of countries, average ballpark figure is between 15 lakhs to 25 lakhs. That would be the ballpark figure for you to require per year to study. 2 साल का या 3 साल का कोर्स होगा, so it will be about 40, 50, 60, 70 lakhs. Now good number of you guys will be working part time, full time, have various options in the middle. So actual cost will be around, average cost will be around 30 lakhs to 40 to 50 lakhs. When you look at this as a scenario, there are lot of banks. So when we went abroad 10 years from now, we had just nationalized banks. I still remember going to State Bank of Hyderabad, which is now State Bank of India. You guys will not even remember that. And that branch manager and breaking my head over him with him, trying to figure out to get the education loan through. But aaj ki date mein, banks come to your office. They come to you, they are running behind you. So the number one, starting from the nationalized banks, which is SBI, BOB, PNB, etc. They have their dedicated teams, they have their dedicated loan relationship managers who actually help you out. Now, if you're looking at a, so in terms of say interest rates, the cheapest obviously is public sector banks, but they will fund with the collateral in place. So that agar collateral hai, papa mummy ka IT return is not so important. Let me repeat, papa mummy ka IT return is not so important. Things which are say parents are retired, parents are this, will not hinder you to get a loan for your study abroad. The second set of banks are private banks. Private banks में क्या होता है? ICICI, Axis, they give a set of universities who they fund, and they bring in those number of universities on campus. So in case you're looking at those sector and you do not have a collateral, all hope is not lost. सब कुछ नहीं बिगड़ा हुआ, आपको फिर भी 100% लोन मिल सकता है, provided you fit into certain universities. So all the leading top 8, say Australia, top 40, 50 US, top 20, 30 UK, top 10 or 11 odd in Canada, इस सबको आपको लोन मिल सकता है without a collateral. Co-signer required होता है. Here they require the IT returns to be stronger, but it is possible. The third set of lenders are NBFCs, जहाँ पे आपको based on your GRE score. Now this is where some your GRE score might make a difference, because a good number of these lenders actually base their product on GRE score. तो अगर आपने GRE दिया है, you might have an advantage in terms of others to look at the GRE point. So this is also a strong possibility for unsecured. They give up to 40 lakhs. Completely hota hai, 4 player hain. All in all, we apply to various people. We can try to get them in order. Another aspect which comes in is the last but not the least are international funds and US banks themselves. So all of you guys who are looking to go abroad, even if, for example, if you get to top-notch schools, so they also have a list of schools. By top-notch, I mean top 200, 300, and most of our Imperial students go in the top 200, 300. In fact, a majority of them maybe go to top 25 as well. But around that range, 300, 400 जो popular अच्छी universities हैं, जिसमें where what Sonali ma'am said, 11, 12, 15, or even Hiren sir said, and even Harkiran madam said, and Akshay sir said. So these universities are good chances of them being covered by the these international funds, and they fund 50,000 to say up to 100% of course fee in terms of your funding. So ये सब हम कर सकते हैं. In fact, so these are the opportunities which exist in terms of funding. And I would also want to say about ROI. So a return on investment in a foreign country is similar to a master's program in India. The kind of, say if you do an MBA or you do a master's, or you do an leading master program in India, the kind of course fee and the return and job after that is somewhat similar. So that is what is very impactful. You should not look at बहुत इतना पैसा लगाना है or 20 lakhs or 25 lakhs. Bring your parents to us. We will try to explain them. You have to talk like businessmen. Businessmen में वो बोलता है कितना पैसे कितने return on investment कितना है, या फिर मेरे को ये पैसा कब धंधा अगर मैं ये धंधा लगाऊंगा, or if I invest in my career, quote unquote, if I invest in my career, this is the return you will get. So this is important aspect of the entire exercise, and we are all open. In fact, we've got a portal called Edu Loans, wherein we've got like a sister concern, jahan pe We are helping students out with their funding requirements. Right now, there are more than 10,000 students. So all of you, once you join in Imperial, the benefit of joining or putting in that when you move in, you will get personalized service. You will be in a dedicated relationship loan counselor who you can come on board, discuss on board with your parents, and we'll get your things sorted. So apart from say course, your obviously portfolio you will make, we will not make. एक वो चीज तो आप ही बनाओगे, but apart from that, ठीक है, बाकी सब कुछ हम sort कर लेंगे. And that's where we are. Over to you, Akshay, sir.
Banat, actually, the part you said about portfolio, obviously, they will be making, no doubt about it. But our counselors know, what the universities are looking for. So this will go through our eyes once. Actually, we can tell them what is missing or not missing. And one more thing, Banat, maybe something that we missed out earlier in the flow of the things. When you spoke about GRE will help you with loan as well, GRE would at some places even help you with the scholarship part as well. I mean, I was going through the questions as well here right now. There are a couple of questions regarding scholarships availability. These design schools for architecture across the globe do offer scholarships as well. And these are based on your portfolio, your experience, if you have any, and even your, at some places, even your GRE score, the entrance exam scores and GPAs. So yeah, so these universities do offer scholarships on the basis of different things that you have in your profile. And we have had many students of ours going with some decent amount of scholarship from here to there, to those universities.
Absolutely. So obviously scholarships are a part of your complete profile. GRE, WorkX, everything would definitely. And even here, for example, if somebody gets a scholarship and in the application he comes to a loan provider or financial lending institute, he definitely gets a better rate of interest. So it's a win-win situation. So that is how the whole. Okay. Now, bit about Imperial Overseas, Akshay.
Yeah. So we, at the start, as I described, we at Imperial Overseas, we basically have 5 branches, 3 in Mumbai and 2 in Pune. And we have a team of all experienced counselors who have themselves been abroad, and we have helped a lot of students. Like every year, we help around 1,000+ students every year to go abroad. We have our Facebook and a very active Instagram page as well. Definitely be a part of our Facebook group, and especially the Instagram part, because we generally do live sessions with the universities, with our students who are currently studying abroad. So we'll get to understand from them the real aspects and what is going there. And to tell about the process, we are there to help you right from your training for GRE, IELTS, TOEFL, till visa guidance. We even help you in booking your flight tickets and everything. Counseling, we'll start with the documentation part first. We'll draft SOP and LORs for you. We'll help you make all these documents. Then university shortlisting will be done, like based on your preferences, your profile, course, and everything. Our expert team of panelists here will be shortlisting universities for you, and then hum final karenge universities ko, then admission process. So at every branch of Imperial, we have a team of counselors who are dedicatedly there to help you with your application and all the basic doubts which you have. And finance assistant mein, we have our own company called as EduLoans, jiske through, if you're looking for an education loan or some help with regards to finances, we are definitely there to help you out. In terms of travel and forex assistant, we basically help you. We'll connect with our forex and travel partners. We'll help you figure out your flights, your forex, foreign exchange things basically. And last but not the least is the visa. जैसे USA में यूनिवर्सिटी का इंटरव्यू होता है, एंड जैसे कनाडा, ऑस्ट्रेलिया या यूरोप में a lot of documentation is involved when it comes to the visa process. So we are there to help you. For USA, we'll prepare you for the mock interviews. Minimum हम 7-8 interviews तो एक student का लेते हैं. We make sure he is there at the right path. He should be able to give the right answers to the visa officer. And in terms of other countries available, we generally help you with all the visa documentation, like finances कितना दिखाना है, क्या करना है, and all those things.
Not to mention multiple mocks by all the panelists here and even more.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
you-
absolutely.
So
And,
properly, how do you say, chiseled to get the answers right.
yeah, and Akshay sir, when you spoke about the Instagram thing, just last week, over the last week, we did 2 Instagram live sessions with our students who are architects in the US. One is currently studying and one is working since the past couple of years now. So those live sessions are now saved as IGTV video sessions. You can absolutely watch them and show it to your parents as well. They would be happy hearing them. They would be happy. What a nice field you all have entered into, honestly speaking.
Yeah,
Correct.
and
So
this is this slide is basically about our admits. Like we have been successful in sending the students for architecture field as well. So these are a couple of our students who have gone for architecture studies. So you can see
Couple,
there
yes,
is
these are more than a
Australia.
couple of our students.
Yeah, so there
lot
is
of
USA, there is Australia, there is Belgium. If you can see the 16 thing, there is Belgium. The first thing on this slide is Netherlands. So we have helped students to across Europe. पीछे वाले slide में हमारे पास UK भी था. So every possible destination where you are aiming to go, we are there as Imperial. We are there to help you. This is what I was talking about. Imperial_overseas is basically our Instagram handle. Do follow us on Instagram. So we do a couple of things on Instagram. You will get some tips on GRE. You will get about the live which we are doing with our students and the universities that could help you figure out your own things.
Yeah, we
And these
feel
are
we
our
call
contact details.
ourselves, yeah, we call ourselves as a young brand of counselors. So we are quite active on Instagram.
Yeah. And these are all our
and
addresses. We have, yeah. Yes, Banit sir.
so I was saying, so let's so these are, and okay, so all you guys, even if you are outside Mumbai or outside places, in fact 20% of Imperial students enroll with us, and we kind of counsel them or train them over the phone, over all the digital media platforms. So that is one thing which I would like to highlight. So we can help you out anywhere and anywhere you are across India. Not limited to these 5 destinations, and we are actually we are all remotely functioning. We are fully functional online, digitally, on phone, and we are fully even if our offices are open by appointment. So things are up till very recently, until Pune was locked down. Otherwise Thane and Pune were locked down, but for the next 10 odd days. But we have still open. So all you guys who want to reach out to us or ask your parents, so my point of view would be that the next probably step is to discuss with your parents. This is just an opening session, so all of you guys please reach out to all of us immediately. That will be one. Second, as 96% of you are looking at GRE, कल आ जाओ, एक demo lecture है, Ankur sir and all the trainers will be taking in. Understand what GRE is about. That is the second step, and then chart your growth out. I mean, chart your planning out for your higher studies.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Banit, when we talk about the question answer session that is there in the box here, trust me when I say this, all the questions asked by the students have been answered by us in this session. We
Okay.
have Sanjana ma'am and Rahul sir who have been actively answering the questions out there. But apart from that, I just went through the question list when you guys were talking. Trust me when I say this, all the questions are being answered in this webinar now.
That's nice. That's nice. So,
तो हमने कुछ
guys,
रखा
but
ही
this
नहीं है
is
शायद से questions के लिए अभी शायद.
नहीं, अभी. So guys, so I mean this is the starting point. So what I'm trying to give you is कि we are all available, approachable, young मतलब कि हम हमारा कोई ऑफिस टाइम नहीं होता है. हम WhatsApp, Instagram दुनिया में सारी चीजें ऑपरेट करते हैं, and that's how we like it. We like it informal. We don't like it like an appointment based system कि आप काउंसलर के पास जाते हो. So many people who are very typically appointment based कि हमको ये टाइम से ये टाइम मिलो या बाहर नहीं मिलो, whatever. So that's not how we function, and that's where we are.
Okay, so yeah, so I would like to thank all of you for being a patient audience. We said we'd try wrapping this up in an hour and a half. We went 20 minutes overboard, but I feel that's okay. And yeah, and you have any doubts, you have our contact details here. Feel free to reach out to us on call, WhatsApp, email, etc. We are there to help you out. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
A follow-up mail will be
Bye,
sent on.
guys.
Bye,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. Bye,
Okay.
guys.
Bye, everyone.